let's talk about how your gut health affects your brain and your mood. Now, there was an interesting study done with mice, okay? They took two groups of mice, right? And they fed them different types of food. So one group they fed a normal diet, and the other group they fed a high-fat diet. And what they found in the group that consumed the high-fat diet, which is similar to like a Western diet, a lot of our patients come in and say, "Hey, I feel great when I consume a high-fat diet." Well, initially you may, but over time, it really messes up your health, including your brain health. But initially they felt great. In this group of mice, they had an increase in what's called gut permeability. So the lining of their small intestine was actually damaged from consuming the high-fat diet. And what's significant about that is that when that lining gets damaged, you get microscopic leaks in the gut, and toxins and bacteria and undigested food particles can leak out and generate inflammation. Now, inflammation is a key factor in many diseases, including autoimmune diseases, inflammatory bowel diseases like Crohn's and ulcerative colitis, but also inflammation plays a big role in depression and anxiety. So what they found is that the group of mice that were on the high-fat diet developed more anxiety and depression-type behaviors. Now, the question is, why? Why would that happen? Well, there's a couple reasons. One is because the microbes in the gut, the microbiome changes, okay? When you change the diet, you change the microbes, and those microbes then produce different types of metabolites, which are like signals that go to your brain and actually influence the neurotransmitters in your brain. So, for example, one of the most common neurotransmitters that are affected by the gut microbiome is serotonin. And I've done a lot of videos on serotonin, but it's like the happy hormone. It's a hormone that helps you feel calm and focused and well, and it helps you sleep at night. So if you don't have enough serotonin, you can develop anxiety and definitely depression. And what's interesting is 90% of the serotonin is actually made in the gut, not in the brain. Another thing that happens is when you have this increased gut permeability and you have these microbial changes in the gut, you get an increase in what's called lipopolysaccharide. That's a molecule that's found on the outer membrane of gram-negative bacteria. So if you have more of this molecule floating around in your body because of the leaky gut, that can actually go to the brain and trigger inflammation in the brain, which leads to depression. There's also another molecule called advanced glycation end products. If you have a high-carb diet or a high-fat diet, you can get the formation of these molecules and they bind to a receptor in the brain called the RAGE receptor. And when they bind to that receptor, it generates a lot of inflammation and oxidative stress in the brain, which can lead to depression as well. The solution, of course, is to go on a low-carb diet, a moderate protein, high-fat diet. But the key thing is to not consume the seed oils. The soy, corn, canola, cottonseed oil, things like that, those are very high in omega-6 fatty acids and they're very inflammatory. Instead, you want to consume more anti-inflammatory fats, things like omega-3 fatty acids, which are found in grass-fed butter, grass-fed meat, pasture-raised eggs, raw milk, things like that. Also, fermented foods will help to populate the right types of microbes in your gut. And also fiber from vegetables will feed those microbes and prebiotics. There's also some data that shows that fasting and intermittent fasting can greatly improve the health of your gut and therefore improve your mood and reduce anxiety and depression. But this is very fascinating stuff. And I think it shows that going on a healthy ketogenic diet or a carnivore diet is not just good for your weight and not just good for your blood sugar and not just good for your heart, but it's also good for your brain and your mood. So if you're enjoying my content, which I hope you are, and you're applying this knowledge to your health and you have a success, I would really appreciate you sharing your success story. So share your success story to help inspire others.